Welcome to Born to Watch, where three old mates, an ex-video shop owner, an industry insider, and a black belt in 80s kung fu movies put their mastery to the test on movies that changed the world.
Hey there, fellow watchers. It's that time of the week again, and it's a special time. It's our 50th episode. And what we thought we'd do is something a little different for this one, and you guys can get to know us a little bit more. So we're going to reveal our top 10 favorite movies of all time. This should be very, very interesting. We've all got three very different tastes in movies, but I think there may be a few that cross over. Gow, welcome to the 50th.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to this episode. This is really good. Although I've got to tell you that it's really hard to narrow it down to 10 and then even harder to try and put it in order on it. So I'm going with the disclaimer that these can change around and things might move around as we go through the episode.
Well, I think it's quite fluid. I think in general our list would be quite fluid.
And I definitely say there's going to be some crossover.
Without a doubt. Morgs is big on the crossover. And up there, and I'll tell you what, he's on tour. His boy's on tour. He's in the back of his car. He's looking a treat in a beanie. Dan on tour. How are you, mate?
It's fucking freezing in New South Wales.
Well, that's why you moved away.
That's it. Oh, I don't know why it's so cold down here, but we just wear sluggos surfing up in fabulous Queensland, and my balls still get sweaty when I surf up there in sluggos. So it's been a bit of a shock down on the mid-north coast. Yeah, I'm actually sitting in Southwest Rocks at the moment because they've got the best broadband from Telstra, and bringing the love from Southwest Rocks.
We never stop. That's what we do for our fans. We just never stop. We never take a week off, although some try. So here we go. What we're going to do, we're going to start from number 10. We're going to start with Dan. He's going to give us his number 10. He's going to tell us why. He's going to give us a little bit about it. We may critique it, may tell him that we don't agree or not agree or do agree. Anyway, Dan, you want to take us away with your number 10?
Yeah, like Gow said, this is fucking hard, and I'm suffering massively from recency bias, I think, with a lot of my picks. So my 10 would change tomorrow and the next day and the next day and 10 years ago. So as an exercise, it was great to go back and actually think, what are my favourite films? But yeah, super difficult, and I'm sure, like fellow F-wits, it would change around a lot. So I've decided to do it chronologically, starting with the 2010s and moving backwards. So for my number 10 film. And I also decided that I couldn't possibly stick to 10. So my 10th choice is actually about 8 films. So for number 10, I had, and they're all from the 2010s. So I am sticking to my rigorous scientific methodology here. But from the 2010s, my 10th favourite film of all time are, in no particular order, The Big Short from 2015, Animal Kingdom from 2010, Warrior from 2011, Wolf of Wall Street from 2013, Whiplash from 2014, Get Out from 2017, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri from 2017. So quite a few of those we've actually done on the podcast, or are they penciled in, ready to go, or have we recorded them and they just haven't been released yet?
Well, I knew someone would throw a massive curveball. My curveball comes a bit further into my list. But I'm glad we started with the stock standard Dan curveball. I'm going to liken that to a quote from another movie. So well done, mate. All good movies there. I can't disagree with any of them.
Big Short's a cracker.
I've been watching a lot of Big Short on YouTube. Little snippets of it.
Yeah, snippets.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a comfort film for me. I always go back to it. I just it's such a fun watch for such a dry subject matter. The way that they're able to extract such a compelling story out of a financial crisis is quite incredible. So I love the performances by everyone. Huge names in there. Brad Pitt's fantastic in a very small role, but Steve Carell probably steals the show, you would have to argue. So love it. Animal Kingdom we've done previously. I won't go through them all. Obviously, we'll be here all night. But the one in there of my number 10 of my 8 number 10 films, Whiplash is probably the one that I go back to the most at the moment. So star turn from Miles Teller. when he went into a bit of a hiatus after this, I think COVID-induced hiatus, and the fact that he was sitting on Top Gun Maverick for a while, so we didn't see a lot from Miles Teller between Whiplash and into the sort of 2018, 19, 20s. So he was very young, but just a brilliant watch. And again, from a very dry subject matter comes a super enthralling movie. So yeah, that's my number 10.
Okay, well done. We're going to give you number 10 is Whiplash for Dan. See, what the rest of us, I think, may have done, I've done some notables that I'll do at the end, not just given sort of 17 up at the front. But anyway, Gow, here we go. Number 10 for Gow.
Here's my number 10. You'll like this one. This is the movie that started me on my martial arts craze. Right. This is Revenge of the Ninja,
Oh,
1983.
my God.
Now, there are a few that I watched. I quite like the ninja martial arts,
Of course.
movies, as we all know. Clash of the Ninja was a good one. The Octagon, do you remember that with Chuck Norris and Lee Van Cleef? That was a cracker. Chuck cleaned house against
Lee Van Cleef.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah. This one's similar to Bloodsport, where he's got his adoptive brother. He has to clean house against him because they end up fighting at the end. But Chuck's real superpower in that one was whispering to himself throughout the movie, "Sakura, Sakura." That was the original. How did they know? And then, of course, America
saying Sakura for 35 years.
Yes. And then, of course, there's American Ninja with Michael Dudikoff.
Oh,
the
the
American Ninja
Dudikoff.
movies.
Dudes.
Yeah.
He had to get
The
it on.
shittest martial artist to ever have a whole franchise of martial arts films made around him. Just incredible. Michael Dudikoff, what a boss.
It'd be the equivalent of you having a whole range of surfing films done for you, Dan.
He possessed great skills.
But then I was down. I rode the pushy down from Wheeler Heights down to Aussie's movie.
It was Aussie
Aussie's
video.
in DY, and then I found Revenge of the Ninja with Shokasugi, who was a star of heaps of those ones. He was Enter the Ninja, Pray for Death. But this one hooked me. This was the first one.
Good cover.
Yeah.
I remember it had a really good cover.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie. There's an awesome scene in it where he throws a ninja star at a guy and it goes through his forehead, and then the guy's screaming, and then he flicks another one through his throat to shut him up. It's great. And then he's got actually on his belt buckle. He whips the ninja star off the belt buckle and throws it to someone.
Got to coordinate.
It's awesome, mate. As soon as I saw it, the next week I was straight down to the bullpen. That's what we called our dojo. And I was like, Sensei Shidoshi-san, can you teach me that? And he's like, no, mate, you've got to. He banged on about the dim Mac or the Bernie Mac or something, learning that. But
Return of the Mac.
The Way of the Water or something like that. But so this is, mate, it had Professor Toru Tanaka in it. Remember Toru Tanaka, Sub-Zero in The Running Man? Yeah. So anyway, I've seen this one tons of times, but that was the one that really hooked me in.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my number 10.
Nice. Well done. So Revenge of the Ninja is Gow's number 10. Funnily enough, we're going to stick with combat sports for my number 10. Number 10, Rocky 4. So it's not the best Rocky film, I don't think, but it is definitely the one that I've seen the most and the one that I hold dearest. What can I say? It's got Drago. It's got the death of Creed. It's got the best soundtrack out of all the Rockies. It is such an easy watch. It's so quotable. Rocky's beard, it's possibly the best beard in sports movie history. His leather jacket, there is just so many things about this movie that make it so good. I love it. It's the Rocky I find myself going back to the most as a whole watch, but I still think Rocky 2 has the best training montage. And I think Rocky is probably the best film, obviously, but this is by far and away my most enjoyed.
Is this the one where he does at the start when he's in the shower nude and he's doing the hands against the
No,
wall?
that's Rocky 5.
Oh, that's Rocky 5.
That's Morgs' Rocky.
That's Morgs' favourite, yeah.
I did replicate that in Burley Heads for Plims when we were at schoolies. So, hey Plims, come look at this, and me doing the Rockies in his cousin's shower.
Yes.
Lunatic. Okay, so we've cleared. Go Dan, anything?
No, good choice. Yeah, love it.
Okay, very good. So we've cleared away a number 10. Now, hopefully, Dan has one number 9 coming up next.
Yeah,
what's your number 9, Dan?
I did calm down after that. So, number 9 is, in fact, one film only. And this is, again, I said I'd do it chronologically just because I can. So we're into the 2000s now. And for number 9, an adaptation of a favourite author of mine by a couple of favourite filmmakers of mine, and it's No Country for Old Men from 2007. So a Cormac McCarthy novel done by the Coens. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast, and I could watch this monthly. It's just such a great flick. I can go Josh Brolin, absolutely amazing. Just something I can revisit time and time and time again. And if I was on a desert island, just fully nude, this would be one of the movies that I'd take with me, and it'd be hairy movie watching every day.
Yeah, I had this in too. I knew that it would come up, so I
Yeah.
didn't put it in my 10, but it was certainly right on the list. Javier Bardem in this is unbelievable.
Oh, that hair.
Performance is just the hair's great, but he's just scary. Like he's just intimidating, scary.
I think the greatest testament to this movie is that it beat There Will Be Blood for Best Picture that year.
Yeah.
Now, There Will Be Blood is an absolute masterpiece. It really is. And Daniel Day-Lewis's Daniel Plainview is incredible. The whole movie, that's a flawless piece of cinema. There Will Be Blood. This movie's better than it. No Country for Old Men is incredible.
Yeah, that the fights or the gun scene where he's chasing him.
But everything, even the small parts.
Yeah.
So like Woody Harrelson is
awesome.
Unbelievable
Josh
in this
Brolin.
film. They're all good. They're all good. It's a great choice. Great choice, Dan. Well done.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, G-Man.
All right, I'm up. My number 9 is a movie I watched only a few weeks ago. Again, it's Good Will Hunting. I think this movie is so good. And just having rewatched it recently, it's just such a powerful movie and such an awesome story. The fact that these two came up with it, so early in their career, they hadn't even started their careers really. It just gets me. Matt Damon is so good in this movie. I mean, but so many of them get nods. Matt Damon was a Best Actor nominee. Robin Williams won Best Supporting. He's unreal. But just the interaction between Matt Damon and Robin Williams in this movie,
it's brilliant.
Is awesome. The interaction between Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård is awesome as the dickhead professor.
Also,
Jared Lambo.
We can't forget it's the very early role for a young Rip, Cole Hauser.
Cole Hauser, yeah.
He's one of the buddies in the back of the car.
Unrecognizable.
Yeah.
But look, and it's obviously given us a lot of pop culture. How about them apples? That's in our daily lexicon these days. But just so good. I mean, the scene where she says, "Tell me you don't love me," and he just looks in the eye and goes, "I don't love you." He just that's how much he wanted to save himself. Like, it's just so well acted, and so well done. Yeah,
Kid was broken.
Also, the "It's not your fault" scene. That's pretty powerful stuff.
God.
But yeah, so that's my number 9. It's really good.
That's a great choice, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, just a quick one. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on the first day of shooting they had tears in their eyes because there's Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård, who are well-known actors, acting out their movie, and they're like, "This is it. We finally
made
did it. Yeah,
they
finally got it there after 5 years."
Absolutely. Okay, good choice, Gow. Number 9. Okay, my number 9, we've covered it on the podcast. 7. David Fincher's 7 could be the best serial killer movie of all time. And in fact, I will go so far as to say that I've left Silence of the Lambs off my list, which has been a staple in my top 10 since its release. 3 incredible performances in this movie from Pitt, Freeman, and Spacey in the limited time that he gets. Ali Ermey's amazing. Gwyneth Paltrow's a bit annoying, but she doesn't deserve to be head in a box. Fincher just announces to the world that he is here, and it is such a powerful film. It is so good. It is just incredibly rewatchable. I've seen it. I can't count the amount of times I've seen this movie. Love it.
Yeah, great movie. Good call. Beat out Silence of the Lambs. That's a big call.
Yeah. There are a couple here where I had to, it was one or the other, and this was one where it was either 7 or Silence, and I've gone 7.
This is it's such a story, but it's such a brutal movie too. When you first see it, it's really shocking.
Yeah.
Really shocking.
Yeah. It was an amazing cinema experience seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, it's such a brutal scene. I'm always just thrust back to when I think about that movie and the thrusting of old mate when he goes to the leather store while Bill creates the metal dildo, a strap on for old mate. And it's what you don't see that I think is just even worse. The mind just creates the horror for you in that scene. It's just revolting, and it just stays with you forever. So yeah, just a incredible movie, and so dark, and what an ending as well. What an incredible ending of a film.
What about the body in the bed when you think it's dead? and then the
Oh,
gas.
dude.
Sloth.
You just jump out of your skin.
Yeah,
when that comes
sloth.
on.
It's full on. Well, they didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
That reaction was real. Yeah, no, love it. It's one of my favorites. Well, it's my 9th favorite film. Okay,
Excellent.
number 8. Dan, what's your number 8?
Yeah, look, I'm still in the 2000s for this one. So my only Quentin Tarantino film on the list, actually. So obviously, there's you could have put any of his films in. I don't think there's really a weak moment. Even True Romance that he wrote is definitely a favourite of mine that could make the top 10. But Inglourious Basterds for number 8 is my favourite Quentin Tarantino film. So it doesn't rate as highly on the IMDb as several of his other joints. But for me, it's the one I go back to all the time, and similar to the other films I've already name checked, it's just it's a comfort watch for me. I mean, fairly dark subject matter with Quentin's usual spin on taking history and just molding it into his own perverse pleasure on what would happen if this happened instead. So yeah, look, I just love the dialogue. We've talked at length about Christoph Waltz and his role in this film, so we don't need to go much into it other than to say thank you, Quentin. You were always going to make my top 10, but this was the film for me that you would appear in it for.
Yeah, look, I had 3 Quentin films, and I made it. I had to pick one.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've picked the best. What I think is probably the best Quentin film, but it's the one I like I enjoy the most now. It comes later on my list. But Inglourious Basterds, I saw that at the preview, the premiere at the State Theatre in Sydney. We've talked about it, and it was a full packed theatre. Quentin Tarantino was there with Christoph Waltz and Diane Kruger. It was incredible, and the movie just blew me away. The opening scene could be the best opening scene in the history of cinema.
He's unbelievable, Christoph Waltz, in this movie, as he is in everything he does. We've talked about that before. He's so good. The scene with the bear.
Yeah, the bear Jew.
The bear, when he comes out of the tunnel, he's banging the bat in the tunnel. It's just brutal.
The tension, I mean, it's an absolute masterclass in how to string tension out in the scene. That opening scene, as you said, with the bear Jew, the long scene when they're in the underground bar with which is just brilliant as well with Diane Kruger, and he just keeps us absolutely waiting for what we know is coming, but just stretches it out for as long as possible. So and
even when they're in the
dialogue, of
cinema,
course.
Mate, it's
even in the cinema,
masterclass.
it's just like it's just building all that tension.
Yeah. Okay, great choice, Daniel. Inglourious Basterds number 8. Now, Gow, what's your number 8?
All right, my number 8. I went back to the archives. This one. This is a good Aussie movie, and it it's Gallipoli.
Oh, good choice,
Now,
Gow.
And I know we're doing this around Anzac Day, but it's one of those movies where we grew up at school. You learned all about the Anzacs. You knew all that. Like it's a very big in our culture. And to watch that movie, it's one of those first movies. It came out in 81, so we're only 7 or 8 years old. So I remember watching that, and just some of those scenes just really show you the brutality of what happens in war. It's probably one of the first movie that I saw with all of that. But great cast, the young Mel Gibson, Mark Lee, and heaps of Aussie actors in it. There's Robert Grubb, there's Bill Hunter, David Argue, who's the little blonde bloke, the little knockabout bloke. So, and then I'm sure Charles Tingwell, Bud Tingwell was in there as well.
doubt.
He had to be in there.
No doubt.
But I just remember watching this movie, and it always just had that special place in your heart because it's something that is very historical for Australians. And then
great score too.
Yeah, really, really
unbelievable.
Good.
When he's running through the on the run trying to save his mate, and it's an incredible score.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it also featured. We love this movie so much that on our travels we actually went to Anzac Cove and checked out the horrifyingly beautiful location where the actual Gallipoli, the setting for that great battle many years ago, and we were just struck by the sheer vertical climb that the diggers had to face when they were asked to storm the Turks' gunner positions, and you just stand there and go, what the fuck were they thinking? Like it's a stunning peninsula, but there was absolutely no way that the majority of those guys were going to make it off the beach.
And that's one of the things when we went there and you looked at that and you see how far they were going to run, and it's not far, like coming out of the trenches, how far they were trying to get to. It's brutal, and how steep. The bay they landed at, Suvla Bay, how steep it is. So of course, when you go there, you stay at the hostel or wherever we stayed the night before, and you watch the movie. and then you go to the bay, and it's so spine tingling because that's you go to the neck, Lone Pine, and that to me really cemented. I mean, it's a real piece of history. So,
I think, just beyond Lone Pine, I think you rooted a few tens there as well, didn't you? Later that night.
Turkish delights, he called them.
Yeah,
please,
that's it.
Morgs, please.
That was right in the middle of '90s Gal in his absolute pristine. So I could only surmise that a couple of Turkish ladies would have met their Antipodean fellow that night and met the seven. So
Okay.
Listen, let me. We can go stories for another time, I think, for that. But
We could do a whole other podcast, I think.
whole another podcast.
We
On
try every
Morgs.
week to.
Yeah,
uh,
please.
Morgs is very good at flipping stuff 180 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly with the tens as well. So, if you're saying the Gow rooted a 10 in Turkey, there's every chance Morg rooted a 1 in Turkey. Okay, so my number 8, and it's another movie we've already covered on Born to Watch, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I gave this a 5. Perfect film. I love this movie. Again, I think this could be the most fun movie on my list of the 10. It's an old style romp. Flash Gordon, just that midday matinee film. Spielberg is a master, and you put him together with George Lucas, who becomes one of the greatest director-producer, I guess, couples in the history of Hollywood, and they just blow it away. And it's such a great movie. There are so many tropes that are now used 40 years on from this movie that Spielberg created. Harrison Ford is amazing as Indy, and he's gone on to rule the world as in pop culture. Some great performances in it, but it's the action sequences. It's Spielberg himself. He is the king. They caught lightning in a bottle for that movie, and they did replicate it again, but never to that level. It's incredible. I love it.
Unreal movie. I left it out because I knew it would be in yours.
Yeah.
So I knew that was going to be a double up for sure.
Yeah.
It's a movie for me growing up that I watched so many times and just watched it over and over and never got sick of it.
Yeah.
Just from the start, from getting into the in the caves and then all the way through. Such a great flick.
Yep. Asps, very dangerous.
So good.
You go first.
You go first.
Fat Morgs would have picked this in his top 10 for sure. So just as I've changed over the years, so as my list. So yeah, I can't knock that pick. Well played.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to move into the number 7s. Dan, we're going to start with you. Number 7.
Yeah, so we're going to say goodbye to the 2000s in my list and move into the 90s, which is fairly fertile ground, I'll let you know. But for again, in no particular order, I'm going to start with... Oh, hang on, no, I'm not. Hang on. I just balls that up. I just looked in my list and there's another 2000s film that I had miscategorized. So just forget what I said there. We're staying in the 2000s for one more film, and that is... I know it's probably, this is going to be in all our lists, I know, because you guys talk about it a lot, but I thought I'd get in first, and it's Lost in Translation from Sofia Coppola.
Bill Murray, Dan, you stole my number 1.
Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson, set in Tokyo. As you both know, I've spent a lot of time. I was big in Japan there for a while myself, and I just love this film. It's all jokes aside, I go back to it all the time. It's slow. It's it's rambling. There's not a lot to it, but it's just fucking brilliant. And Bill Murray, I think, is what carries that. And the stories of him, of Sofia Coppola, not even knowing if he was actually going to turn up for the first day of shooting, are just legendary. He didn't have an agent. You basically left a message on his answering machine and hoped for the best that he would turn up. So I love this film. All you F-wits out there, if you don't love it, you can fuck off. But, yeah, I doubt that it's going to feature on these two chuckleheads' list.
You're right. It's not on my list.
It's definitely not on mine.
I don't know where to start with that. I don't like Lost in Translation at all, and I'm not sure how long the list would have to be for me to find space for that movie.
How many times do you reckon you've seen it?
Once.
Wow.
No, that's not true. I reckon I've seen it twice.
What about you, man? Have you seen it?
Sounds like it'd be a good movie.
You're a dick. Oh, I implore you, F-wits, don't listen to these two chuckleheads. it's definitely way better than their opinions would have you believe. It's yeah, I don't know. It's just always resonated with me. I think I was always a little obsessed with Tokyo, and to see that replicated. And Japanese people are weird as fuck too. It's awesome. And I've been to the Hilton there where it's shot, and had cocktails looking at what they're looking at, and I rooted the redhead singer there, and it's just, I tried to do whatever Bill Murray did, and really feel as if I was part of it. And I've obviously been to Shinjuku and the crazy four-way crossing that you see with all the
Yeah,
all
it's
the
incredible that.
huge billboards. Yeah, you've been there too, Whitey. So
Yeah.
just it's a sum of its parts, I think, and I just really like what Sofia Coppola does, and get fucked.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we'll move into Gow's number 7. Hit me, Gow. What do you got?
All right, got a bit of a curveball here for you guys. We're getting the time machine and we're going back.
Wow, I like that.
We're going back to 1963
Wow.
to The Great Escape.
Oh, The Great Escape.
The Great Escape.
Good call.
I have watched this movie. I love rewatching this movie. It's timeless. It's always so good. And every time I see it on, it's not something I'd seek out, but every time it's on, I love watching this. I mean, I don't know if everyone's seen it, but it's a group of Allied prisoners that are all put into a camp, and it's like two halves of the movie. The first half is them planning their escape from there, and then the second half is them all going their separate ways, throughout the bush in the night and into different towns throughout Europe, trying to get away from the Nazis. But it is a fantastic movie, and at the end, underpinned by Steve McQueen on his bike trying to jump over the fence on the motorbike. A very, very iconic scene. But the cast in this: Steve McQueen, James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson, James Coburn, Gordon Jackson.
Incredible.
So, and it's a fantastic movie. Great storyline.
And
just something
one that would before the advent of cable TV and Netflixes and all the various streaming services, and when there used to be the movie of the week on Channel 9 or on the free-to-air broadcasters, it used to pop up all the time, this flick, but I wouldn't have seen it for 25 years, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a long time between watches, and it's something I don't seek to watch all the time because it is a really good movie, and it's just something when you put it on, it's always a good watch.
Yeah, I've probably watched it in the last 5 years. That and The Dirty Dozen I tend to go back to intermittently. They're two of my old style favourite World War II movies.
Yeah. But this the second half of this movie, when they're all going on their own, they're all on their own and they're getting chased down, and some of the storylines are so good. It's a really, really good flick.
What was the piss take sitcom that they did off the back of this?
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes. So unfortunately, my memories get melded together when I think of The Great Escape, and then sing.
Colonel Clink.
That is not The Great Escape.
And the lead actor in Hogan's Heroes, it was apparently a massive swordsman as well, and real freaky as well.
Was it Robert Crane?
Robert Crane,
Robert Crane.
He's a bit of a freak show, yeah.
Yeah. They made a movie called Autofocus with Greg Kinnear in it, which explains his.
Yeah.
He was the first guy. He used to film his sexcapades and stuff like that.
He was a mad rooter.
Yeah. He was a dark guy. He was a dark guy.
Yeah. He had some different stuff going on, Robert Crane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great choice, Jim.
Okay, my number 7. Yeah, great choice, G-Man. My number 7 is my Quentin Tarantino choice. It was very difficult here. I had 3 movies that I could very easily put in this, but I have chosen Kill Bill.
Ooh,
very good. Good choice.
So I don't think it's his best movie. I still think Pulp Fiction is his best movie, and I was blown away the first time I saw Pulp Fiction. But this is the Tarantino movie that I can just watch over and over and over and over again and not get tired of it. I love this movie. It is so cool. The Battle of the Blue Leaves, I could just watch that. Thurman just cutting a swathe through the Crazy 88, and then the battle at the end with Lucy Liu in the snow is just so beautiful. It is incredible.
The Battle of the Blue Leaves when they're in the restaurant.
Yeah, and then out the back.
Yeah.
So
it's just so awesome.
Yeah, and again, quality characters you care about. It's another Tarantino masterpiece, and the soundtrack is awesome. Like the way he matches music to the scenes is second to none. He's incredible. So my number 7 is Kill Bill.
Yeah, great choice. Really, really good.
Yep.
This is one of those movies, again, you can watch time after time and never get sick of. The storyline just twists around. It's so good.
Yep.
Which
It's
one, if you revisit them, do you watch them both, or do you just watch this
I'm
one, or
I'm not a huge
what's
Kill
your
Bill.
go?
I'm not a huge Kill Bill 2 fan.
Yeah, okay.
I find it to be a bit laborious.
Yeah.
It takes his, I guess, the dialogue to the extreme. There's a lack of action compared to the first one,
Yeah, it's slow.
and
that's for
it
sure.
is, and it just does. I don't think it compares. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he doesn't make a bad movie. It's just not as good.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost convinced me there. It would have been in my top 20, I reckon. But yeah, just fell out for me. But you make a strong case, well put.
Yep. Okay. Number 6, Dan. What do you got?
Well, I'm doing this chronologically. So this one, of course, we say goodbye to the 2000s, and now we're into the 90s, actually. So again, no particular order really in the 90s. I'm going to start with this one from Michael Mann, The Incredible Heat. I couldn't leave this off. I just thought, look, for absolute pure enjoyment this film has given me over the years. And again, I don't know how often I watch this. I'd have to watch it at least twice a year at a minimum.
Yep.
But just an absolutely incredible film. I actually just finished his novel, Heat 2, which picks up
Yes.
after Chris Shiherlis, which is Val Kilmer's character, picks up after him. Basically, Nate gets him out of the country. So he's the only survivor out of the thwarted bank robbery. And he gets him out of the country, and he ends up in Panama. I think it's Panama, yeah. And starts on a new life of crime down there. And then they flip back to pre-1995. So it starts off in 1988, and it's another score with Neil McCauley and Vincent Hanna's there chasing them. It just happens their paths intersect. It's a fucking excellent book. I really enjoyed it, and it was great to be, because you already knew those characters so well, to be able to have them to revisit some of their other crimes, and then Chris's future was just brilliant. I don't know that you could make that into a movie. You definitely couldn't use the actors, unfortunately, the poor old Val Kilmer, the look of him these days. But it was it just shows what a great universe he had created with those guys, and just an all time favourite for mine, and definitely sneaks into the top 10.
Yep. Excellent. Good choice. That's a notable for me.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to leave that out. And Gow?
It's a great movie. Always love watching that movie.
Yeah. No, it is.
Haven't seen it a ton of times, but it's always a good watch.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. What's your 6?
My 6. Look, I was a massive fan in the early '80s of Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, Meatballs, Caddyshack, Stripes. Stripes was almost on this list, but I went for Ghostbusters.
Oh, good choice.
Now, and this is really because what did this come out? 84. So it was right when we were kids, and I just remember being so big. I mean, it took over the world, didn't it? Ray Parker Jr.'s song, just the whole thing. And I think with this, normally those sort of movies with ghosts are all terrifying, whereas this has got some funny parts in it. I was a massive fan of Bill Murray back in these days. So I just remember the three characters, Venkman, Spengler, and Stantz, they're just so good. They're so offbeat. They mesh really well. Heaps of good one-liners in this movie. It's just a great movie, and just was very, very big in our childhood for sure.
Yeah, I love Ghostbusters. You know my story. I saw it 7 times at the cinema.
Yep.
Colleen White giving me the $4.50 to go in. I love it. It's still to this day. It's I watch it at least once a year. At least once a year.
Bill Atherton. I mean, we've talked about him before in Die Hard, and in this as the the bad guy. He's so good at just being hated. Like being able to hate.
He's very hateable. He's very hateable. Good choice. Good choice at 6, Gow. My 6 is going to rock the boat here a little bit because I think it might be higher on at least one of your lists. Number 6, Aliens. Now, if I'd done this list 10 years ago, I think that Aliens probably would have been in my top 3. Definitely. And I love this movie. I think that these 6 movies that come now could be all equal one. This is James Cameron at his best. He ups the ante on the first movie, which could have been in my list as well, to be honest. Alien is a classic. I love it. It's action aplenty. Again, it's characters that you care for, no matter how small they are. You're invested. You're invested in all of them, and the score is incredible. I think James Horner does the score, and it's unbelievable. But the storyline, the strong female lead, Ripley, is incredibly good. The bond that she has with Newt, it's just it's a great movie. It's so good. I love it.
Oh, it's a rewatchable so many times. How many times have we seen this movie?
Lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
It is a really, really good movie.
Yeah.
All the characters in this are great. So many good one-liners.
Yeah.
It's an awesome movie.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? What about you, Dan? What do you got to say about this?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
I completely question your judgment. This film is a masterpiece. I'll talk a bit about it a bit later on. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. It's the basis of many of our segments on Born to Watch. It is arguably the blueprint of the sequel, slightly better than the incredible original. It is a snapshot of the 80s, yet timeless. It is just on every watch incredible. When they brought out the director's cut, that became my favourite film at the time. Yeah, I can't speak highly enough about this film, and I do wonder what on fucking earth you could put in front of it. So let's
Well,
take
you've seen this the most out of anyone ever. I think you've watched this so many times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
it
could
was
as I said, the next 6 movies could all be number 1 in my list. This is how hard this list was because I actually did it in order, so it was difficult, very difficult.
Right. Well, I think you're a fuckwit, but anyway,
That's all right.
Let's see what everyone else thinks.
Okay, excellent. Now we are moving on to number 5, and we're going to go with you, Dan. What do you got for number 5? Top 5.
Yeah, I'm staying in the 90s, and this one for me is one that I know that you love, Whitey. I think you love it, G Master, but Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights
Oh,
from
yes.
Good movie.
1997. So, yeah, again, one that I just revisit so often and just love every time I see it. I'm just blown away by the who's who of Hollywood royalty that feature in this. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, just some of the smaller parts that he has, and then obviously we lost him far too young. Burt Reynolds, Mark Wahlberg, just an incredible cast. Stories about the film are quite off the charts. The fact that Paul Thomas Anderson basically sat through a year of 70s porn to get in the feel of what it was like to be a porn maker in the Valley where he's from in the late 70s, early 80s. So, yeah, just an absolute masterpiece and one I revisit a lot and definitely in my top 10.
Yep. No, it's again, it's a notable for me. I love Boogie Nights. I just couldn't find a place, but it'd be probably in my top 13 films.
It's hard to fit them all in,
Yeah.
and then knowing that some of these are going to be in the list anyway.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. I've watched it a lot. It's a great movie.
Jack tells me you got a great big cock.
Man,
See it?
Good choice, Dan. And what about you, Gow? Moving into your top 5, what do you got at 5?
All right, I've got 5. I found this hard to split. I put the two of them in there. It's Mad Max and Mad Max 2.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm assuming we'll probably get to these a little later on. But look, for me, these two growing up were, they were something you watched all the time. It was always something I like to watch. Seminal Australian movie to me. I mean, we've talked about Mad Max. We've done Mad Max before, but the whole story of Mad Max 2, in the apocalyptic wasteland, the Gyro Man, it's great.
Yeah.
Eating tin dog food after the dog's eaten it.
Yep.
It's just great. The feral kid, and his boomerang, the chopped off fingers.
Yep. Oh mate, they're great.
What's his name? Lord Humongous. Was that his name?
Yeah, Lord Humongous. Yeah.
The gasoline. Yeah. This and the chase scene with the rig at the end is unbelievable. I mean, it set the scene for all those kind of movies.
So you can't split them. So
I'm going Mad Max 2.
All right, well done. But you can go Mad Max or Mad Max 2.
Well,
but that's good. A good choice. Well done.
Dan,
what do you think?
Yeah, that was probably in the top 20s for me. All the Mad Max films except for Thunderdome. So they, but yeah, 1 and 2, The Road Warrior, as it was known overseas. Great choice, G. Well played.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. Okay, so my number 5, The Godfather. Okay, so Dan actually introduced me to this when I think he was sick when we were young men, teenagers. Went up to his place and he had it on hire, and I settled in for 3 hours and it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit! And as I've gotten older, I've only grown to appreciate it even more. This is a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece, and arguably the greatest movie ever made. Right? Tries to be outdone by the second one, but I still think that the first movie is a better movie than Godfather 2, as good as Godfather 2 is.
Agreed.
then the story behind the making of the movie, against all the odds and all the stuff that went on in the background. The scale is monumental. It's incredible how they managed to squeeze this into this movie. It's Coppola's best. There's no doubt in my eyes. It's Coppola's best. And it is, again, I would watch this a couple times a year. Easily, I would watch this a couple times a year. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good slow burn, and the character arc of Michael, at the start to where he ends up, and that iconic closing scene, when they shut the door. It's a fantastic movie, and
love it.
Yeah, you're right. It's as the years go on, you just get to appreciate it more.
I was just watching it the other night. It was on TV, and I just caught it was on Foxtel, and I was just watching it, and the bit where he's teaching Apollonia to drive when he's in Italy.
In Italy.
And he goes, she can't even speak English or whatever. And she's like, it's Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And I just find myself chuckling. It's just so good.
The scene reminds me a bit of the guys in Sideways when he just goes off and has this whole different life when he's in Italy and has a new wife, and then she dies. So he goes, all right, I better go back to my old life, and just plugs straight back into his American life and his former missus. So yeah, quite the gamesman, Michael, in that. But yeah, I can't argue with the choice. Didn't make it into my list at this time. Again, recency bias, I'm sure, is the reason for that. Just something that I haven't revisited for quite some time, but obviously enjoyed immensely whenever I do.
Oh, it bounced around my top 10 too, and I thought about putting it out. It's not in there, but...
Okay, we move into number 4, and Dan, what's your number 4?
So leaving the 90s with this last piece of 90s. Now, I know for a fact this won't feature in either of yours, but I just had to put it in there just because of how often I go back there to watch it and how much I've enjoyed it over the years. So it's a Richard Linklater joint. I love his shit. I know you guys don't so much, but he has his muses that he uses. Boyhood was definitely something that you can appreciate for the craft, but probably don't revisit a lot. It was actually on cable or one of the streamers recently, and I sort of sat into it, and it didn't grab me. It was definitely pretty slow. But the before sunrise, before sunsets, the Julie Delpy, and the Ethan Hawke, they were always great films. But for this one, this is the film that I always go back to. Now, I mention Everybody Wants Some all the time because that's the latest and probably spiritual successor to this particular film that I love from Richard Linklater, which is a film about absolutely nothing except a baseball college team in the States in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's was the successor to Dazed and Confused, which is a film that I just love so much and go back to a lot and have for the last 30 years. And it had to enter into my top 10, and that's why in my chronological order it just fits so neatly. So what do you guys think of Dazed and Confused?
It's a good movie. It's funny. I haven't seen it a heap. I've probably seen it between 3 and 5 times, I reckon. Around that, sort of maybe 5 times max.
So first film of Matthew McConaughey with his oft repeated all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a Ben Affleck features in there. Not Casey Affleck. What's it? We were talking about Rip before. What's Rip?
Cole Hauser.
Yeah, Cole Hauser's in there. One of the London stars in it. I can never remember which one.
Jason
London, yeah. Parker Posey's in there as just a real bitch character, but funny as. Mila Jovovich is in there just and actually got married to one of the other actors on the set. It sounds like they were just partying the whole time when they were filming it. They were about 18 years of age, all of them, when they did it. It would have been so much fucking fun shooting it. It's just it's a full nostalgia buzz for me, and one that I just love. And it just makes the 70s look fucking cool as when in reality probably not so cool.
Yeah. Joey Lauren Adams,
exactly, went on to feature in a lot of Kevin Smith's films.
Kevin Smith movies,
and the like, yeah. A real strange, squishy face, but quite a good sort. Would definitely feature in Whitey's Brad Pitt segment, I reckon. But I could go home and watch that tonight and be very happy.
Okay, very good. Now, good choice, Dan. Well done. Gow, number 4.
All right, number 4. It's coming at 4. It's a guilty pleasure. I know this is going to be in the list. It's Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
So I've got that in at 4.
It's my number 4 as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can just bounce this out then. That's really good. What can you say about it? It is the most quoted movie of all time for me.
Without a doubt.
It is the right mix of, comedy and action and, science fiction or fantasy. It's just funny. Him as the, Kurt, we all love Kurt. Kurt is the bumbling, tough guy, and his offside is actually the one that
He's
gets him through it.
Kurt's the sidekick.
Yeah, really, that's
Essentially
what
the
it is. And
sidekick.
I think that's really well done how
Yeah.
they've done that to make him he doesn't win a fight in any.
No, he's hopeless.
He's hopeless in this whole
He's
movie.
actually unconscious for 2 of them.
He just doesn't do anything well. But he just rates himself. I love the start when he's talking into the mic. Like, it just sets the whole scene of how cool he thinks he is. Just what else can we say?
We all love this movie. It's not in mine, and it's awesome that you guys had it as your number 4. I didn't include it at this stage, but at any time in my life, I could have included it. I think we're in the minority loving this film. It's not a widely known flick. It's something that we have cottoned onto and love, but it's a bit of an underground sleeper. I don't know that a heap of people would agree with us on our love for this film. What do you think, Whitey?
Oh, I agree. I think it's a cult. It's a bit of a cult classic, but there's not many.
It's even below cult for me.
You think so? You think it's okay? Yeah, okay, maybe so. But anyone, I remember that in the video shop, if I had it on in the shop, people would hire it.
Yeah.
If I recommended it, people would come back and say that was great.
Yeah.
It's a specific kind of movie, right? I think you've got to be a specific kind of person to really enjoy this. The fact that this is in my top 4 movies of all, and I tell you, it could have been higher, to be honest. Like,
oh yeah, it could have been.
If it went on terms of how many times I've seen this movie, it's probably top 3. This movie easily, and I still remember finding it for the first time on the shelves in DY, in the video shop, and taking it home. And it was just because of the art. It's one of the greatest posters, most iconic posters of all time. When posters were hand drawn, and it is just a fun movie. I love it. I love this movie.
It's not a movie you watch once and go, wow, what a great movie.
Yeah.
It's just something that keeps growing and growing. And the more you watch it, all the quotable lines in it, it's just something that just keeps going. And this is one that I couldn't wait to introduce Josh to.
Absolutely.
As soon as he was of age, I was like, mate, you got to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he enjoyed it as much as I did, but
I've introduced it to both my kids. It was one of the first videos I ever bought myself. I bought it myself. Probably copied it as well, pirated it. But it's a Carpenter Russell 1-2 punch, and they are great together. Very, very good together.
Yeah. And Kurt's so good. I mean, the one that gets me is the scene where he walks up and pushes up the hat and punches one of the storms in the face.
Yeah.
And he doesn't move. And then he doesn't even say anything. He just looks at him and the little nod.
Yeah.
You just know.
He's the best.
It's just so good.
It's understated.
So good.
So that's me and Gow's number 4.
Well done. No, I can't take that away from both you boys. I love that film as well. Yeah, well played. Also, there isn't a mass shooting going on in Southwest Rocks at the moment. If you pick up anything weird in the edit, it's just fireworks going on for Anzac Day. So, yeah, it's everything happening today. Good times.
Okay, so we're going to move into our top 3, and it's right at the pointy end now. So, Dan, we'll start with you. Number 3.
Yeah, look, can I pass on 3? I'm just going to wrap up 2 and 1. So, yeah, if you can, let me pass 3, please.
Okay, all right, too easy. That's interesting. G-Man, then, what's number 3?
I had Aliens in my number 3.
Yeah, good.
Now, we've talked about it, so I won't go through it. So, the other one I had in there, I think, with that is Jaws.
Okay.
Now, I'm assuming we're going to get to Jaws
soon.
You're right. So, look, we'll go through quickly. It's just a movie to me that it is so. It's that movie from when you're a kid that was so scary that you just knew about. I mean, it's just become such a legendary movie. The soundtrack, the sounds to it. Everybody knows what it means. Everybody knows, and everybody was shit scared to go into the water,
into a swimming pool,
everywhere. Yeah. After this, really good performances. Roy Scheider, all of them in it were great. Richard Dreyfuss was excellent. So was Robert Shaw, and. Yeah, I won't steal thunder because I know that you'll want to talk about this a little bit more.
Is that your number 3, Jaws?
Yes, I'm going to put the number 3.
Well done. Okay, my number 3, and I'm rolling on with the John Carpenter, Kurt Russell 1-2 punch with The Thing. Could be the best horror movie of all time. I think it's definitely in a photo finish with The Exorcist. I think the reason I love this movie so much is because I think I found this movie on my own. This is one of those ones where you just happen across it. Found it on the shelves in the video shop. Saw the cover, was like, what the hell's going on here? Took it home and was like, holy shit, what a movie. And I know we've covered this on Born to Watch very early on, mind you, probably didn't give it its due. If we did it again, I think we could probably do a better job with it. But the paranoia, the setting, the cast, the practical effects, this is a flawless movie. I love this movie. Everything about it is amazing. Love it. The Thing, number 3.
Thing is awesome. Great choice. I knew that'd be up there for you.
Yep, love it.
You introed that film to me. It's a huge film for me as well. Didn't make my list, but not because I don't love it, just because there are so many freaking movies out there. But I can't disagree. Again, the tension, you just nailed it. Like it's a haunted house story. It's they're all tucked in together and something's picking them off one by one, but it's just elevated so much by the practical effects and just the performances by the cast. Kurt Russell's outstanding. Wilford Brimley, God knows how that man was a sex symbol. He was 38 years old and looked about 100. Great movie. Excellent choice.
Okay, we're moving into number 2. Daniel, number 2 on your list.
I passed on 3 because I couldn't split 2 and 3, and Gow, he's nailed it with Alien. So Alien and Aliens I've put as 2 and 3, and you can flip them any way you want. But for me, they are just absolute masterpieces. Ridley Scott before he lost the plot. Alien, I don't know if you don't know the story of Alien and how it came apart, how it came to be, and how it was shot, and how it's basically a B movie elevated just by the incredible craft of Ridley Scott and the performances of these guys. I mean, you think about it, like it took space movies prior to that were all slick and guys in silver suits and Buck Rogers and shit that it just looked like it was all quite contrived. I mean, this is a space freighter where guys look like they work down at the local tip. Like they don't have uniforms. It was just really grungy, and they don't talk. There's no exposition. You don't know what's going on. And Sigourney Weaver is the female lead, and actually the parts were written. They weren't gender specific. So the fact that they chose Sigourney Weaver to play the part, it could have been a dude that ended up playing that part. But I just absolutely love that film. I did a lot of close study into it when I was studying film at uni, and just I could bore you to tears for years on this particular film. And Ridley Scott, he hand drew every single scene for this film prior to shooting it, so he knew exactly what he wanted to achieve and what they could do. And if you look at the film now, it doesn't look dated at all. It looks beautiful the way it's shot, but he also used the lighting that they used. They just cover so much because they didn't have a huge budget at all. But the fact that they make it look like the interior of this giant space freighter, and they do it a lot with disguising the lighting and just showing you the shadows, and then they don't reveal the monster hardly at all in the original Alien. And it's just a brilliant film. And then to back it up with James Cameron coming along and taking the mythology of that story and expanding upon it and writing it to make Aliens, which it's my definitely second or third favorite movie of all time. And it just happened to fit nicely into this chronological narrative that I've dropped on you boys today. But yeah, I can't speak more highly enough about those two films. And if for some reason you haven't seen either of them, fucking go and watch them tonight, tomorrow, whenever. But just incredible. Alien and Aliens, you can change them over, flip them around, whatever you like, but they're my number 2 and 3.
Yep, 100%, Morgs. The fact that they put Sigourney Weaver as the hero in this is so good, and she's so good in this role.
And the presence she has, like she's almost 6 foot tall herself. Like she's quite a large lady, but she's just the physical presence she has on screen, and you believe her as an action hero or a reluctant action hero in both films, and especially in Aliens, where she becomes so badass and just takes on the Queen Alien, and you don't for a minute think that she couldn't do it. So just a brilliant film.
And she's an incredible athlete.
Well, that's probably the one chicken or armor is that unfortunately gross motor skills not quite up to that action star status. But also with the first film, just the set design and from H.R. Geiger, which is just the stuff of absolute nightmares. The sets that he was able to design, and the phallic and I guess all the forms. I mean, it's if it's not replicating a phallic penis style. It's definitely more vaginal in everything that he creates, from the face huggers through to the eggs that sprout the aliens. It's just the dude was severely fucked up, but
Big time.
it translates very well to screen. So, yeah, I can't speak highly enough about either film.
Love them both. They're incredible films. Love them. I can't say
They were
anymore.
always going to be high up on this list
Yeah,
for all of us.
can't say anymore.
They are unreal.
Okay, G-Man. Number
All right,
two.
Number two. We're going back to the late 70s. My number two came in.
I want to guess.
Go on.
Clint Eastwood feature in it.
No, I didn't have a Clint in here.
Okay, all right. No, continue.
I'll give you a hint, Morgs.
Yeah.
It's a surf movie.
No, from the late 70s. Would it happen to be Big Wednesday?
That would be the one.
Well played.
Love this movie from when I first saw it. I think I watched it with my dad early on, but us all growing up on the beaches and surfing, and this story of just three young guys, three young Californian guys who are just living their life, and they're having a carefree life. They're partying at the mum's house, and they're getting into fights, and they're going down to Mexico and just enjoying themselves. And then it goes through a 12-year period, brought into quarters in the movie, through the different swells, but just the story of their lives changing, and as they get older and having kids and different stresses, and then having to go to war, and Vietnam pops its head up, friends having to go, getting conscripted, and being Matt Johnson, Jan Michael Vincent being the star surfer at the beach and being a reluctant hero that way. It's just a great coming of age story of three mates and their group of friends, and dealing with different things in life. It's just a fantastic movie, and I love rewatching this.
It's hard to
can't argue. There's someone else we know that loves Big Wednesday. Is it Damo?
Adam Gabarina, Goobs, loves Big Wednesday.
Oh, Goobs. That's a strange choice for Goobs.
Yeah, it is, but he's a huge Big Wednesday fan.
BGP Plumbing, he loves it.
Yeah.
Big fan of Big Wednesday.
Yeah, okay. No, it definitely features well. Yeah, look, I enjoyed it as well. Probably don't love it as much as you lot, but it's inspired choice, G-Man. Well played.
Oh, mate, I just think it's so good the way it's put together. It's just the three of them having to navigate life, and the rest of their crew as well. Just a real coming of age of the brothers, or the three friends. It's just an interesting one. Like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were really good friends with John Milius, who's the director, and they thought this was going to be the American Graffiti of surfing movies. So they were all like, right, well, they traded profit points from their next movies with him because they thought it was going to be so big. So John Milius got some points in Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
And John Milius, and this made 4.5 million, which was half its budget.
Yeah.
When it first went out. And it's obviously since then it's got a very underground, or became a real cult movie and made a lot after that. But he scored big out of that, I think.
Yeah, no doubt.
He was on the right end of that deal.
No doubt. Okay, well, my number two, Jaws. I don't think there's a movie that I've seen more in the last 10 years than Jaws. It's the first book I ever bought. I bought it for 20 cents from a book fair down at Warriewood Square. My nan gave me a 20-cent piece, and I went and bought Jaws.
I remember that book at your house.
Yeah, I've still got the book at home. It's an old book. Is this the greatest movie ever made? Quentin Tarantino thinks it is in terms of what it achieved. It began the summer blockbuster. It changed the way movies were released and the way movies were made. Steven Spielberg was 26 when this movie was made.
Wow.
26. It ran weeks over budget. It ran millions of dollars over budget. It was written on the fly by Carl Gottlieb, who was an actor on the movie, who was also a scriptwriter. They'd sit around in a house at night at Martha's Vineyard, the cast and the crew, and they'd write the next day's script.
Amazing.
This is incredible. It was the first movie ever to be made on the open ocean. They invented cameras that sat half in the water, half out of the water. The reason the movie is so good is because we don't see the shark. The reason we don't see the shark is because the shark didn't fucking work. Right? It wasn't movie making brilliance. It was just because it wasn't available to be shot. So when you eventually do see the shark, you're like, holy shit. And regardless of whether the shark looks fake or whatever, it's what happens outside the water that makes
It's
this
the
movie.
tension.
It's
the tension.
it is.
100%. It's them standing on the beach and not knowing, and seeing the underwater scenes of the legs kicking and all of that. Like you just going,
it's the unseen.
Oh no,
it's the unseen. You don't see the dog get eaten. You don't see Alex Kittner get eaten. You don't see these things. You don't see Ben Gardner get eaten, but his head falling into the hole in the bottom of that boat is the biggest shock of the movie.
Yeah.
I saw this 40-year release when it got released on Blu-ray. I saw this at the Randwick Ritz in the cinema with 400 people.
I remember when you went there, yeah.
Mate, it was like I was seeing it for the first time. People screamed. I can only imagine what it was like to see it in 1975 when it was released. Like it would have been incredible. Look, it could be my favorite movie of all time, but I've put it at number 2.
It's definitely up there, and it is because it is something that impacts you. Like as a kid watching this, like we said, it scared the shit out of you.
Yeah,
and it just had such an impact on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thought sharks are so dangerous because of this movie.
Absolutely.
Interesting on that John Williams originally played the score for Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg said to him, he goes, "Yeah, that's funny, but what's the actual music?" But then said to him, like, he goes, "But if that wasn't what he had, he goes, the movie wouldn't have been half as successful without that."
Is it the most iconic movie score in history?
It's got to be
up there. Well, it's up there with probably one or two others. Which
I'll tell you one. Like we talk about quotable lines, I don't. You know, we're going to need a bigger boat's obviously one.
Yeah.
Which was inside
completely ad-libbed.
Yeah, joke on the well, they had that inside joke on the set, right? But the one I get, which no one in my family, because no one's ever seen it, would know, is that a lot of nights when I go to bed, I get up and go, "Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed."
Yeah, there are so many great moments in that movie. I love the bit where he's afraid of drowning and he's explaining it, and then then I think it's Hooper and him are on the boat when they're looking for Ben Gardner's boat. I think Hooper says to Brody, "Well, it's a bit rich from a guy who's afraid of the water but lives on an island." And Brody goes, "It's only an island if you look at it from the water."
That's good.
Yeah. So anyway, my number 2 is Jaws. Now
I don't love Jaws as much as you guys, but I can appreciate what a groundbreaking piece of cinema it was and understand why it's so beloved. I think that it set up the hiding of the beast, the scary beast, for so many subsequent films, and just showed that whatever we're conjuring in our minds is the best screening room in the world, rather than what they can paint on the screen. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we are now at number 1. This has gone quicker than I anticipated. So, Dan, what is your number 1 favorite movie of all time?
You guys are not going to pick this in a 1 bazillion years, but it's become a favorite of mine. And all of the films you guys have said could have been in my top 10 over my lifetime, and maybe tomorrow. So I'm just saying this is a snapshot for me. It worked with my chronological order. I wanted to put in an Australian film because I think that they're probably underrepresented at the moment. I snuck in Animal Kingdom in there, and Gao had Gallipoli. But apart from that, I think we probably didn't have it. Mad Max's as well, I beg your pardon. But as far as 30, it probably needed to be a bit more, considering it's where we're from. This one actually wasn't made by an Australian, but it's about Australia. And it features an Englishman in the lead role, and a very famous at the time Englishman in just a fucking whack job performance in it. But the movie is from 1971, so out of the 80s, goes down to the 70s. And the film, if you haven't seen it, it was actually found not so long ago and had been forgotten. And they literally stumbled across it and found the film cans and just went to work on restoring the movie. And F-Wits, if you haven't seen it, I think I've probably mentioned it on the pod previously. I know that these guys have. I know Whitey's seen it. I don't know if Gal's seen it, but it's one that I revisit once a year now, and I'm just completely blown away by a foreigner's just spot-on depiction of Australia at the time and how fucked up Australians are or were, especially in small towns. It featured Donald Pleasance in that role of an absolute freak show, but a very famous Australian actor called Chips Rafferty playing the local policeman too, in a role that what struck me about that particular role is that in that most of the scenes he was in, he was drinking beer in the scene and shouting the main character a beer in the flick, and they offered him some some tea water to make it look like it was beer. And he's like, fuck that. My character drinks beer. I'm drinking beer. And proceeded to put away about 20 schooners every take and managed to stay standing. So it was just this absolute gonzo filmmaking that went on at the time. I won't string it out any longer. The film is called Wake in Fright. It is absolutely incredible. I just think that despite the fact that it fits in my chronological order, it just had to be in my top 10. Yes, you could argue many of the other films I've said could equally take the number one spot. But for me, this is the film that I watch and just walk away going, whoa, that is fucking amazing. That is why people write movies, to just have audiences go, what the fuck is going on? And the dude was a Danish guy that did it. So it didn't have a intimate knowledge of Australia, but just was able to pull out the ridiculous, quirky traits of Australians and just make it completely horrifying experience for this English teacher that just goes on this absolutely this incredible journey of losing all his dough and just spiraling more and more out of control. And it just open mouth like a Breaking Bad final season episode the entire time you watch it, and something that I just absolutely love. Wake in Fright, F-Wits, go and see it. Boys, what do you think of Wake in Fright?
Mate, I'm just looking up the cover on it here, and it says, this is what it says, Outback. Have a drink, mate. Have a fight, mate. Have a taste of dust and sweat, mate. There's nothing else out here. That's on the top of the cover.
It's very difficult how though that the essentially it's shot a lot in like an Ari, and there's 2-up games that are in there, and it's just normal parts of our life that we've already grown up with. But the way the director shoots it, they just become menacing and evil and just completely horrifying throughout. So just a favoured film of mine. You all knew I wasn't going to put a blockbuster into my number one spot, so I am playing to my archetype somewhat, but I really very much love this film. Whitey, what do you think of Wake in Fright?
Okay, so when you started to talk about your first movie, I actually wrote on my little pad here, Wake in Fright. I knew even before you'd gotten well into your description what movie this would be. The fact that you've put this at number one, I know you're going to write this off as being chronological order. It says a lot about you, Dan. This is it's a powerful Australian film.
Disturbing film.
It's a powerful, disturbing Australian film that only needs to be watched once.
So can I just read out? This is the quick synopsis. For those who haven't seen it, after a bad gambling bet, a schoolteacher is marooned in a town full of crazy, drunk, violent men who threaten to make him just as crazy, drunk, and violent.
It's hard to watch. It's watching it through.
Jack Thompson features in there as one of the Ocker good old boys at the end, and it's very hard to put into words the viewing experience that you have, but especially for Australians, these are things that we've grown up with. We've visited small towns all our lives, going through them, whether we're going on holidays or whatever we do. We've all been to RSLs and seen the particular quirky traits of what goes on there. Anzac Day, it's coming up. We've all played 2-Up. But the way that this particular director just spins all of this into such a harrowing journey, I think is just an incredible piece of filmmaking, and just really stays with me when I think of cinematic experiences that really fucking have moved me over the years. Whereas as far as an entertaining movie experience, sure, there's hundreds more that would tick those particular boxes, but this one has just always stayed with me, and love it.
Yeah, okay. It's an odd choice, but I completely understand it. If you've not seen it, you have to. I think it's a movie you have to see.
I'm gonna have to give this a rewatch.
You're gonna have to watch it.
It's been a long time,
and it'll be interesting to hear what you think about it. It's a good choice, Dan. It's definitely something that was. Look, I'm not gonna. I didn't think it was unexpected from you, but you've shown your cards. You've shown your cards, Daniel. Well done. I like it. Yeah. What's your number one?
I'm not sure we're not going to be in
in lockstep here.
Yeah, in step here. But my number one is obviously clearly Star Wars. So this movie has had the biggest impact on my life. I mean, this was a movie we watched over and over and over as kids, and the trilogy. I mean, the first two movies especially, amazing. And I don't know if either of us didn't have, or all of us that we know didn't have all the figurines. I had a land speeder, I had an X-wing,
I've still got
Millennium
them all.
Falcon.
I
Like
bought them all again.
I had a box.
I've still got them in the fucking cellophane.
Yeah,
He
he's got
does.
he's got
He
them in the
does.
box. I had a box like a briefcase that you open and you put all the figurines in there, and I don't know whatever happened to it. It had the Star Wars casing on the outside, but this movie just was everything when we were kids. It was it just spawned so much stuff. I mean, you had lightsabers all around the house. You always had heaps of this stuff around. It was amazing, a huge impact.
Yeah. Well, I agree. So my number one, and I was going with making the rules up as I go here, and I had Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back as number one.
I couldn't split
Now
them.
you can't split them, but okay, I will split them. I think that Empire is a better movie than Star Wars, but you can't beat an origin story, right? And I think that I've watched Star Wars way more than any other movie in the Star Wars canon. It's the first movie I can remember seeing at the cinemas. I think it was in 81 and it was before 80, before it was a re-release before the Empire Strikes Back came out. I remember seeing it at Hoyt's Twin. It is the reason I love movies. This movie is solely the reason that I love movies as much as I do. What this movie did for me as a kid, being able to come home from school. I didn't have a lot of mates in my street, so I just watched. I would watch Star
You made
Wars.
them all eat dog shit to be in the Yoda club.
Look,
started your own club.
That may have been the reason. But I didn't have a lot of mates in my street, so I'd watch Jaws or I'd watch Star Wars as a kid. They were the two movies that defined my childhood, and I still watch this movie regularly. I would shudder to think how many times I've seen it. The fact that we are covering this movie next week, we'll go into a hell of a lot more in depth about it. But even though Empire is quite clearly narratively a better movie and looks a better movie, Star Wars for me is easily my favorite movie of all time.
Right from the start, when they're chasing the ship with Leia on it and Darth Vader storms out, and you just know he's so scary and so imperious there. Like the whole story just drags you in. And you're right, like Empire is probably a better movie, and there's a bit more storyline to it there. But even just the whole first movie, just the lightsabers. I mean, you're hooked. Once the lightsaber fights are on, you're into it.
Yeah, and if I say that, look, Empire would be in my top 10 movies, but if I say that, well, this is one is Star Wars, and that includes Empire as well. That's the reason I didn't put Empire in, because I didn't want to put two movies from the trilogy in. But yeah, it's world building. It's the characters. Again, it's characters you care about. It's George Lucas just at the top of his game. He never really directed. He never directed a movie as good as this ever again since Star Wars, because he only directed the shitty prequel trilogy. But for me, it's begins and ends with Star Wars. That's it.
100%.
Yeah.
Can't agree more.
Yeah. And if it was on again, if it was on in the cinemas tomorrow, I'd be there. Yep. And with the three of us went and saw the trilogy sequel.
Welcome to Star Wars.
Yeah, we went and saw it at Hayden Orpheum.
That's right.
The three of us and Sloane. Remember we sent, and Morgs was going to try and backdoor it, but stayed for the three.
Yeah.
And it's still as good now as it was then. There's no
watching
doubt.
the three movies in a row. And you could sit there and watch them.
Yeah.
Boys, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, this is definitely the movie I've seen the most in my life.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I've got to say, for me, Jaws is catching it.
Yeah.
I've watched Jaws a lot in the last 10 years. Thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I love Star Wars. I love The Empire Strikes Back. I can give or take Jedi these days just because I've become more critical in my older age. But these films have been tainted for me by the absolute dribble that unfortunately came after them. So what would have been at most of my life, 1 and 2, like you've just called, for Star Wars and Empire, unfortunately slipped. It would still feature very highly on my my top list for the pure enjoyment they've given me over the years, but I just can't go past how they've fucked it so badly over the years, and unfortunately I can't look at it in isolation at this time. I'm sure in the future I can. I'm sure when I watch them again, which I will for the upcoming podcast we'll do on Star Wars, and I'm sure I'll be enthralled, and I'm sure my mind will be changed. But at the moment, I'm just, every time I think of Star Wars, I think that I haven't seen the last 3 films. I saw one of them and then didn't watch the other 2. They were just such pieces of shit. So for me, it's just so blighted. it's had a spiral down effect on what were beloved films from our childhood.
Yeah, see, I think the amount of time between these movies has made it easier for me because I can certainly separate the first three into their own thing, and then the others came out a long time after. But you're right, like all the stuff afterwards does taint it a little bit, but still, this is just the single, or these two movies are the single most watched I've had.
Yeah, I reckon it's probably the movie I've seen the most out of any. It's a Damo like 8. It's a huge amount of viewings. Star Wars for sure, then Empire. But I can't argue with both of you at different stages. It could be next week. I would choose similarly, but not this time.
Well, look, we've done it. We've named 30 movies with not many crossovers, to be honest. I think only 2 or 3, maybe, and I expected a few more. But
I took a couple out because I knew there'd be some crossover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got any special mentions?
Oh yeah, look, I've got a few notables, which where Dan put them all at the top of his podcast. But I had Heat in mine. I had Silence of the Lambs. I had Pulp Fiction, which I still remember seeing that in the cinema for the first time in a solo session with no one else in the movies, and just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Inglourious Basterds, which we mentioned, Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, Saving Private Ryan for sure. Yeah.
And there's probably 15 to 40 others that could go. When I started a thing in the video shop where we had like recommended movie shelf, so we had the recommended movies, but then on another shelf we had staff picks. And I said to all the staff, I said, okay, you get to pick 10 movies and they get to go on these shelves and we'll stick them in your names, da-da-da. So my top 10 had 25 movies in it. So I had 2 shelves and everyone else had 1 shelf. So it's as I said, my top 6 could all be 1. I love them all.
Yeah. I had a few special mentions.
Go for it.
Pulp Fiction, No Country for Old Men, which we covered.
Yep.
The Castle.
Yeah, good one.
Love it. Good. Iconic Aussie movie. The Big Lebowski. Rocky or Rocky 2.
Yes.
And, of course, Porky's 1, Porky's 2, and Porky's 3. Porky's Revenge.
Yeah. You started very strong with the you possess great skill, American Ninja. So,
to be honest, I went through and watched the shorts of Revenge of the Ninja, and I haven't watched that since the 80s, I don't think. And it just took me straight back. And then I started going through all the other ninja movies. Then I was like, oh, I remember that. Like I said, The Octagon, Enter the Ninja. There's so many. There's some rewatching coming up.
For sure. It's got to be. And we might cover some of them on Born to Watch in 2042.
Revenge of the Ninja, the best.
Dan, well done. Piping in from a car park in Southwest Rocks on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. We apologise for any technical difficulties with the sound there may have been, but look, it was worth hanging in there. And even for Wake in Fright.
Yeah, it's a good exercise. I very much enjoyed that. I agree with all of your choices. I think you've underscored Aliens, and we'll have words about that off air. But everything else, look, I could have supplanted your 10 for my 10 for sure. They're all brilliant flicks. So mine were merely a reflection of my viewing habits at the moment. But over the years, I've loved those films dearly as well. And you both chose exceptionally well. Well played.
Yeah, I think there's 30 movies there that are well worth watching again. There's no doubt.
Some very, very good choices in there.
Yeah. Even Lost in Translation might be worth having a look at, Dan.
I would highly encourage it, F-wits. Get out there, check it out.
Okay, well, look, next week we are doing the big one for Star Wars Day, coming out on May the 3rd. Ripe and ready for May the 4th will be Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, which is Gowan and myself's number 1 and somewhere in the top 20 or so for Dan. So it should be an interesting discussion that we have, and it could very well be the longest podcast we ever do, because there's plenty to talk about this movie. My favourite, Gow's favourite, up there for Dan. Can't wait for Star Wars. But for now, thank you, Daniel, for piping in.
Thanks for having me, boys. Good to see you both.
Thank you. And Gow, well done. Great list.
Thanks for having me. Have a great night, everyone. We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you next week on The Line. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Born to Watch. To join us on our journey into some of our favourite movies of all time, you can find us on all good podcast networks like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star review and share with your friends.